In this lesson, we're going to look at solving limits analytically. Analytically is the same thing as by doing it with algebra. So we're going to use our algebraic techniques that you've learned in college algebra or in the first half of this class in order to solve. The next lesson, we're going to look at the right-hand side, evaluating the trig limits. But for today, we're just going to do the algebraic approach to this. One of the things that we want to do when we do limits analytically or algebraically is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to substitute. We're going to substitute our limit value into our function. And when that happens, there are four potential things that can happen. The first thing is you get a number. And if you get a number, that is your answer. That is the limit, and you are done. The second thing when you substitute is you might get 0. That would be the limit, and you are done. The third thing that could happen is you get a number over 0, and you know a number over 0 is undefined. And if you got something that's undefined, we're usually looking at a negative infinity or a positive infinity situation. There is normally a vertical asymptote that would be there. And then the last thing that we could do is we would get 0 over 0. And if we have 0 over 0, that's what we call the indeterminate form. Indeterminate, indeterminate form. And when we have the indeterminate form, I put down DMW. That means we've got to do more work. So the first thing we're going to do is substitute. If we get a number out of substitution, that's our answer and we're done. So let's say I go back to what we had yesterday. The limit as x approaches 1 of x squared plus 2. If I were to plug in a 1 for x, I get 1 squared plus 2, which is 3. And so my limit is going to be 3. That's where I get a number, and I'm done. So the first thing we're going to do is substitute. But let's say substitution doesn't work. We then have to go to option 4, which is do more work. And do more work could be something like this. We might need to factor. Once we factor, maybe there'll be stuff that cancels out and we can simplify. We might need to rationalize. Rationalizing the numerator or rationalizing the denominator, which means multiplying by the conjugate. The fourth thing is we might need to simplify. Maybe it's simply making common denominators or doing some simplification process that makes our life easier. And then we might really run into a wall and we need to create a graph or a table because the algebraic approach isn't helping us. So we're going to start by substituting. If substituting works, great, we're done. If not, we might have to factor, rationalize, somehow simplify, or graph and look at a table.